the starting screen
We
screen
don't-
going?
We don't record this and then show it later.
Welcome to Ramblemancy, everybody.
You
I sure haven't done that in a while, have I?
Yeah, you caught me.
Welcome everybody to tonight's episode of Ramblemancy, where we are joined by our good buddy Chris over here. Chris, thank you and welcome to Ramblemancy.
Hello, and thank you
Yeah.
for having me. He spoke.
So you ordinarily, I give our guests one episode that they get for free, right? Where I guarantee that I will not go live in the middle of everybody talking. But it was John talking, so I figured, you know what, it's fine. So
It felt right.
It felt yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
I
the
mean,
moment.
yeah. If you're gonna do it to somebody, it's gonna be me.
I've done it to Freeman before.
That's true. That's
I
true.
was involved in that one. I feel got.
Anyway, welcome everyone. Tonight we're going to be chatting about ways to enhance your TTRPG sessions, primarily focusing on the musical side of it, because that is what our guest kind of does. That's kind of his whole thing. So we will be talking about that. But before we get into that, a few announcements and reminders about stuff. Big reminder first, right off the bat. Next week, there will be no Rule of Lore programming because we are off for the whole week for Thanksgiving. So we will not be seeing you a week from now, but we will be seeing you the week after that, which leads us into our next announcement. Many of you may have seen this on Twitter already, but or if you were in Infinite Horizon chat the other night, you might have seen it. But this coming December, the first 3 weeks of December, we are running a Cyberpunk Red 3-shot adventure with the cast of Infinite Horizon. So I'm gonna hold on. I actually remembered to put it in the thing. So yeah, there it is. Thunder and Blood, our Cyberpunk Red 3-shot actual play. We'll be doing that the first 3 Wednesdays of December. And yeah, we're very excited about it. But of course, this means that our regularly scheduled Wednesday programming Infinite Horizon will not return until the new year. So,
Which means that lovely cliffhanger that we left you on last week or on Wednesday, you just get to sit with for a while.
I was gonna call you out for not being part of the spoiler ban, but it's the last episode of Infinite Horizon before the new year. I think everybody knows me well enough by now that they know that there's no way that could have ended. So,
there was a cliff. The story's hanging off it.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta.
Incredible wrist strength to hang on until January.
That's very true. So, I think that's everything that we have going on right now. Yeah, that's all of our big announcements and reminders. There is one more thing, and that is that you will have noticed at this point down there at the very bottom there is a bar. That bar is tracking this month's community goals. If we reach our goal by the end of the month, we will have. I don't want to promise December because December is notoriously a very chaotic month, but at some point in the next couple of months, we will have a community Rule of Lore Among Us night hosted in our Discord where we will engage in space stabbing murder shenanigans. So yeah.
There's been an Among Us update. I am terrified. I truly cannot wait. It's gonna be wild.
So yeah, if you want to support us in a way where that is more beneficial to us than subscribing here on Twitch, which is most of them, that's a great one to do it because you get something cool and fun out of it as well. So that's all I got for right now. So I think we should get into tonight's episode. John, what do you got for us? That was a very slow-moving bus that I threw you.
I could have just like just stepped out of the way and patted it on the shoulder on the hubcap on the way past, but
Hubcap.
just a little pat.
Actually, before we start, why don't I threw you under the bus already, John, so it now feels like we've started the episode. But I also think I'm gonna put Chris on the spot a little bit here. Is
It's happening already.
So Chris, why don't you I actually do have a question for you because I am genuinely curious myself, which is what is kind of your history and experience with TTRPGs? Like, how'd you get into it? Like, what have you some notables for yourself that you've like, these are my highlights of what it could be your favorite game that you've run or been part of or whatever, but
So like I started as the noob DM. Sorry, excuse me 1 second. It's finally time for me to speak, and then my voice stopped working.
Right. No, that's classic. That is just kind of how these things tend to go.
Yeah. So I started off as like, hey, like, do you guys want to try to play D&D? My cousin will DM like the game or whatever. And then the cousin dropped out, and then nobody wanted to do it, so I did it. So I've largely DM'd for any campaigns or games that I've been involved in. And I've played in some one shots here and there. And I over the past couple years, I really haven't been involved in too much other than a couple one shots that I've played in on other folks' channel, and that charity stream that we did together.
Yeah.
Lucas, was the first time that I GM'd in over a year. The first time I ever did it
wow.
on stream.
Wow.
So I'd taken a good long break. But during that period, I was working on some music for other people's shows and stuff like that. So
Awesome.
yeah, I honestly don't play very much or get the opportunity to, but I'm hoping that I'll be able to get back into it soon.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
And I'm stealing all of the ideas that you all give me on this stream.
That is, you know what?
That's the reason I'm here.
That's fair enough. You know, that's legit. We have had other folks on Ramblemancy before who've been like, hey, so I do this thing where like I talk about some like ideas on these days for TTRPGs. Do you mind if I like take some of the stuff that we're talking about here, or like, can I quote you on that kind of stuff? So like these kinds of things that it happens. So you're far from alone there.
Beautiful.
I'm pretty sure at least one of the things that we touched on when Matthew Gravlin was on became a game that he wrote.
That's
so
right.
like,
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's always fun when a Ramblemancy topic or Ramblemancy discussion turns into like workshop that's just happening right now.
Yeah.
I hope you all got writer's credit.
I know that what Matthew was in the process of writing and designing a game based on a comment that Freeman made about dreams.
That's right.
Ooh.
So
I like dreams.
I talked to him this morning. I think I'm gonna talk to him again next week. I'll have to ask where Untitled Dream Game is at.
Yeah, do it. I meant to hit him up too.
So
hi, Koala.
Hello, Koala. No, it's interesting because like so like we talking about music for TTRPGs, it was literally a game changer when I like first started using music in my games. Like it was pretty early on, but even so, it was one of those things where it was just like it just completely changed the dynamic and the atmosphere of the session, and it made it feel a little bit more it made it feel more atmospheric. It made it feel like there were fewer kind of awkward dead spaces in between people trying to like check their character sheets and all that kind of stuff. And just really kind of gave a different dimension to the feel of the game. So you, Chris, you've like written stuff for. Sorry, did you say for people's games or for like their actual plays or streams?
Yeah, like character themes, show themes, a little bit of like battle music.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So, I've honestly been always been curious about like what, because I've worked with for streaming here. I've worked with composers for various projects that we have, but I'm always so curious as to like what kinds of things do you like think about when you're writing that kind of stuff, right? Something that you're not personally involved in, and I'm like,
Yeah. It's exciting because I tend to get like spoilers for the story, especially if it's for like a campaign thing.
yeah,
But yeah, I generally ask about like the general tone of everything, what some of the like the story themes are, because typically I'm working with a GM
mm-hmm.
if I'm organizing music for a campaign, like a theme music.
Yeah.
And then player character themes, I'm more involved with them. But I like to get secrets from the DM, and I like to hide Easter eggs in there. Like I'll ask one thing that's common with a lot of campaigns or settings, really, that you might not think about being super common, but it is that there are often significant numbers. Like
Interesting.
number of gods in the pantheon, or something along those lines, or like a significant number that comes up in a story. So I'll try to incorporate that number into the music somehow and hide it. Or for a character theme, if they're willing to tell me their deepest, darkest secret about their character, I'll try to foreshadow that in the music.
Ooh.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I like to hide things. It's fun.
Yeah. Huh.
See, that is one of my favorite. Like, I share your love of like hiding Easter eggs in the stuff that you make, because that's one of my favorite things. I think I've talked about this on stream before, but that's one of my favorite things about streaming games now, is because when I was like primarily doing home games, I would hide Easter eggs in there, like references to other campaigns that I've run, or just references to like pop culture or whatever I happen to be into at that moment. But like in those times, your audience is very limited. It's just the people at the table, and that's a very small pool of people to understand the references that you are making, and so like mostly I put them in for myself because I think it's fun, and I don't care if anybody gets the reference or not. But now streaming that the audience is bigger, which means that like there might be some of that, which is very fun for me.
Yeah. I know there was something that I hid in one character's theme that I don't think ever got revealed.
Ooh.
So only the player and I know.
That's awesome.
Which is kind of neat and also kind of sad. But
Right.
yeah, I don't know, who knows? Maybe they'll pick up the character again someday and
Yeah.
be revealed what the piece of foreshadowing was. Because I thought it was pretty heavy-handed too. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Character
it's
themes
amazing
are
how
one of the-
sometimes the things that are hidden in plain sight that you work on the most to make the outward effect like compounded 100,000 million percent sometimes is never seen, but that is sometimes the thing that you put the most, like sometimes the most work and passion into. Sometimes you don't want that to be seen, and sometimes you're kind of like, well, if they see it. That's really cool. But that's honestly like a really beautiful thing regardless, I think.
Yeah. Either way, it sparks joy.
Yeah. John, you were starting to say something.
Yeah, sorry.
Is it still there? Has it
there?
flown out one of my ears? Is it bouncing around inside one of these?
I did
think
see
it
it
might
fly
be.
off back behind you there.
Hold on, let me.
I did see it. I was just a little to the right.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Over here.
To the left
Yeah.
now.
All right. All right.
What is this
hold on.
bit you guys are doing? What is this?
It's called physical comedy.
Ah, yes. Okay.
Oh,
Koala says no thoughts, closet empty.
no thoughts, closet empty. Hey, I own
Well said.
an amount of clothes. No, I think the thought is now sort of gone. But oh no, I remember what it was now. It was mostly that like we've worked with largely kind of like intro themes before and stuff like that for like our shows around here. And I think like character themes is one that feels like something that would be very fun to have for TTRPG like streams, first of all, but like games in general, because like I don't know, it's just it'd be so nice to be able to reach over as a GM, like if a character's like giving a big speech or something, just be like, click. Like, um, yeah, no, like, and it's something that I've caught them doing occasionally on shows like Dimension 20, like where they tend to have like a little bit of like a little like a few pieces I think commissioned for each show, or that they find for each show, and a lot of times there's one that winds up being played most often with one of the characters at the table. And so like that's always a very kind of that's a nice it's a nice like additional audio reminder of like who's going right now, which I think actually in the context of actual plays is really nice, because whatever way you can draw people further into the fiction that is largely being shared by 5 people at a table, 5 to 7 8 people at a table, I think the better.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because like it also that kind of thing can be really powerful, but it also kind of depends on, at least in the context of an actual play, because at a table at a home game, it doesn't really matter if there's like these sort of drops as in the drama of things as are like looking for the track or whatever. But in like a on stream, it really kind of depends on like who is controlling the music. Because what I often find is on days where I have a lot of like bandwidth, like I'll be like music, and whatever on Infinite Horizon. Some of you may have noticed there are some days where I like the sounds and the music is pretty minimal, and those are my low bandwidth days where I have no focus for anything but the game. And so like this was something that I was thinking about, that like I would love to. I'm sure it's been done, but like I would love to try it for myself to see how like having a stream where someone else is like basically playing audio engineer for the stream,
Yeah.
Having an independent producer is very useful.
Yeah, definitely. Cause like, and like I know it's been done. I know people have done it before, but like I personally have never seen like the behind the scenes of something like that happening and experienced it. So I'm curious how that would go, and I've been very tempted to try it in various instances here on the channel, but haven't gotten an opportunity just yet. But yeah, because that kind of stuff, like the sound, like not just music, but just soundscapes and that kind of thing is all very important to me as a GM when I'm running a game. Because it's exactly like you said, having even in an offline game, having those like you want to increase like the number of senses that you're engaging with your game, so that you can create like a more atmospheric and visceral experience of playing the TTRPG. Because at the end of the day, it is something that is just kind of happening in your collective imagination, right? And so like
Right.
sometimes you want to have that like that one thing that's going to bring you into the moment, into the fiction of it. And everybody's one thing is different, so you want to have as many of those as you can. At least that's kind of my approach. But
Do you want to hear a really terrible confession of mine?
let's go. Let's do it.
So, I have written music for people's streamed games professionally. In my home games, often I put my music library on my phone on shuffle and just let it rip. And it's great when you get like accidental moments that line up perfectly. Like they kick off a battle or something, and suddenly a Rancid song comes on, and you're like, let's fucking go.
Let's do it.
Let's go. Yeah, no,
Oh, wow.
it's the 'cause every once in a while you'll get like like a voice recorder app recording that I did on there. of like me trying to figure out like a song idea or something. So there'll be like
Oh wow.
like a Philip Glass like section one of his operas will stop, and then you'll just get me going da 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 da, and then it'll move on to like Nine Inch Nails or something. It's ridiculous.
That's amazing.
But yeah, that's the kind of energy that I bring to my home games.
Good.
So
I like my favorite similar kind of thing that will happen is like I have like a collection of playlists on YouTube and stuff that I a lot of times will use for D&D games, just so I'm not, looping the same track over and over all the time. And so my favorite is sometimes, or when I forget to remind the track to loop, it'll end, after 4 or 5 minutes or something, or 2, 3 minutes. And then all of a sudden, like it stops. And I'm like, okay, so that's going to start playing again in a second. I'm in the middle of asking a player for a role. And all of a sudden, like lo-fi beats to chill and relax and study 2 starts playing in the middle of combat. I'm like, oh boy. Somebody cast the sleep spell or something.
You know what though? In like movies or TV shows where they do that kind of thing where like the music that is playing is like completely atonal to like the scene is actually some of the most like iconic moments in like TV and movies that I've seen. So like I'm just saying.
I love it in horror movies, especially.
Yes.
Yeah.
There is nothing better than a song that does not fit the scene at all in a horror movie.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of the movie. Shoot. But it Tiptoe Through the Tulips plays.
Yeah.
When everything goes.
Yes.
Which one is that?
I know which movie you're talking about.
I was just thinking about that
Insidious.
song too.
Insidious. Yes,
Yeah.
Insidious.
Insidious. Where the whole movie just goes completely off the rails and suddenly you get that song playing. And it is like, that's the only thing I remember about the movie, if I'm being honest, is that scene.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh god. No, the worst part about that is that like originally I used to associate Tiny Tim with SpongeBob. But now thanks to that movie I associate it with Insidious, and it kind of ruined the whole thing for me. So, it's wild how those scenes can truly just like I mean that honestly that just sort of speaks to the power of like of music in the scenes and like what they can do for various scenes, cuz like it altered my entire perception of this musical group. Just with like that played against the scene, like I don't know, I feel like I see it most often in like action, like over the top action movies where there's just like this horrifying violent scene taking place, but then there's some kind of like really like happy jaunty song playing, and that's where I see it the most, I think.
I think I'm pretty sure there's a scene in that Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie movie, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, at towards the end of it, where they're both trying very hard in their house to kill each other, and there's like date night music playing, like just some soft kind of smooth music playing while they're like trying very hard to murder each other.
Did anyone else just remember that Mr. and Mr. Smith, Mr. and Mrs. Smith was a movie that exists?
I think
just now.
I remembered about 5 minutes ago when I had this thought when we started talking about this, and I had to inflict that knowledge upon all of you again.
Thanks.
I genuinely think that Mr. and Mr. Smith would have been a better movie. So
I don't disagree.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I think so, probably.
yeah.
Prime material for a reboot of the franchise, Mr. and Mr. Smith.
Hey, let's do it. Hollywood,
I
you
would
know where to
absolutely watch that film.
Yeah, no, you
Just saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be so good.
I saw Nico say something really interesting earlier, which is I agree with. Nico says, just throwing a thought out there, video games have really cool systems in place to have their music change and adapt to the situation at hand, like certain instruments in a theme being tied to certain characters, and when that character acts, that instrument is highlighted while the others fade into the background. I really want someone to make an app for that, for TTRPGs, I assume you mean for TTRPGs, because, yeah, I think that would be really cool. I think that's a great idea, Nico. I think that would be really awesome. My issue with, like, apps and stuff like that, like that are supposed to make GMing easier and more convenient. They definitely do, but they still do require a certain amount of like bandwidth and task switching ability for the person at the GM screen, right? To be able to like jump over and find the thing that they need. Even if it is just like right at your fingertips, you still have to like take a moment away from what you're doing to like do that. And I think that's where I often end up getting tripped up when it comes to some of those apps, and many of them do it in such a way that make it really hard for me to like come back in. Um because, thanks ADHD, that's specifically the thing that I have trouble with. Task switching and regulating task switching, but yeah. But I do think something like that would be really, really cool and useful.
Yeah, like I don't know, ideally you'd have something that was kind of like moving through a series of kind of like different, if you're going to make it generic, like you have a bunch of basically kind of basic tracks that you can then like with the press of various buttons like associate with perhaps characters and things, and you
Yeah.
can like kind of slip things in there. Just makes me think of like it makes me think of the music in Into the Spider-Verse, and the way that like you can have the same theme repeated in very similar but subtly different ways for each of the different various spider people, or like different parts of Miles' journey. Like have something like similar to that to be able to do with at the touch of a button would be wicked cool.
Yeah.
Like
I also saw Ebeloic. Welcome to Ramblemancy. Welcome to Rule of
Oh,
Lord.
Abe's here.
Thanks for coming back. And yeah, thanks for sticking with us through our minimum follow time. We did it as a response to all the hate rating that was happening, just to protect ourselves and our community. So thank you so much for sticking through that to come hang out and participate in chat. I appreciate it.
mhm.
Let's see. Nico says normalize running games with two GMs. I've never successfully managed that, but I will say I think it's a good idea in principle. My issue was that it was two GMs with wildly different styles that clashed. So when I did it last, so like I will say
Mhm.
that that's certainly a consideration there. But I've also seen it done very well. So
Yeah, it almost sounds like even at a home game or something, like having a producer, so to speak.
yeah,
Like having somebody there to just like chill and handle all of the fun like side stuff would again be very nice. Pay your friend to come listen to your D&D game and fuck with the music
yeah,
and the lights and hand out props and stuff.
yeah. I mean that's not a bad idea, honestly, because then see how many times have you, I'm gonna sound like an infomercial here for a second. How many times has this happened to you? Where you want to talk about your D&D game because you want to bounce ideas off someone, but everyone that you would do that with is in your game, and so you can't talk to them.
Infinity times.
Yes, exactly. Yes, 100%. That's so like yeah, absolutely. That would certainly solve that issue. Having another GM. um,
Over here being the resident. I should have switched a video filter to black and white real quick so I could have been the stereotypical like infomercial like
yeah. Just like make really simple tasks look really difficult so that you can sell the product better. And yeah.
like have you ever had trouble clicking your pen like
Yeah. My favorite, this is super unrelated to the topic, but my favorite one that I've ever seen is the like old like the like OG Snuggie ads. Those were so funny because they make using a blanket look really difficult, and it's very funny to watch.
I
Yeah.
You use the word funny,
Mm.
but the families in those commercials terrified me. I am pretty sure that they were like shapeshifter changeling people.
Oh
They weren't
no.
real people.
I I will be honest with you. I was definitely not focused on the people during those. I was focused more on like lack of
No,
blanket skills.
I'm pretty sure because they always like danced as a family, and I'm pretty sure that there was like they fed an AI just like infomercial after infomercial, and those were just generated people.
Oh no! Now I gotta go find them and like watch them again because I never paid attention to that.
Oh
But
my god.
yeah,
We must
Geek Out's
investigate
also
this.
calling back to the like sham wow.
Sham what?
oh,
Sham who?
all right, okay. I'm cutting that bit off before it gets too
Don't
far.
worry, I'm doing the highlights. I'll make sure this isn't in here.
No, we'll edit it out in
We'll
post.
we'll take it out in post. Abe says if you're over 6 foot tall, blankets are hard to use. Either your feet or your shoulders will be cold. Okay, here's the thing.
Yeah.
I did not consider that because I am not anywhere close to 6 feet tall. So
Yeah, as
that's
someone
on
who
me.
as someone who is 6 feet tall, I'm just looking over at my bed here and realizing the number of times as it's gotten colder that I've gone like or something
Yep,
in bed, and then my feet
exactly.
poke right up from underneath the blanket, and I'm like, no,
Oh,
Can't
especially in
relate.
the cold winter. No way.
5'5" can't relate. Um,
She wants to say hi.
oh,
Oh,
Perfect.
oh,
Oh,
we are blessed.
those
We are
exact
blessed.
words crossed my mind.
that was a
So-
powerful purr.
oh my gosh.
That was magnificent.
We did have we it's good. We do have actually in our like uh code of conduct document that we give to like people who are going to be like regulars on the channel or whatever. There is an item in there that does stipulate that if you are on stream and you have pets, you must show them at some point. So
I'm glad that I accidentally adhered to the terms
good.
of service.
Good. Yes.
Mhm.
That's not a
The
joke,
other
by
one
the way.
might
It's
come
not a
along at
bit.
some point.
Yeah.
That's
It's not a joke. It's not a bit. That's really actually in our code of conduct.
really is in there.
Cole,
Yeah,
who
we
is in
have-
chat, Cole has seen that document. Cole knows. So
You've also fulfilled one of the other important items on that list, which is literally wear clothes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I whew,
Well, mine's a
I'm
green
sorry
screen,
for
but
whatever circumstance caused you to need to write that in there.
We're just trying to cover all our bases just to make sure, because sometimes you never know what needs to be explicitly said to somebody, you know. So
Yeah, I think the original gag was like, do we need to talk about wardrobe? Is that important? And we were like, no. And so then I wrote, instead of just not putting an item on there, I just wrote wear clothes.
It's important to know.
yeah, yeah.
TOS and all that.
Define clothes.
Yes, exactly.
No.
a green screen
No.
that has clothing imprinted on a green screen that you've just put in front of you.
Just paint your whole body
No, I
green
don't know
and
this.
then
Yeah, Jolly Old
Oh,
Upnixus
no.
says cover your bases and cover your guests. We should put. Ironically, we should put that on a shirt.
cover your bases and cover your guests.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Okay. Sorry. I saw some other stuff happening in chat. Abe said, best example of co-GMs I've ever seen is Dustin and Devin from D4. They did LARP for like 10 years before they started co-DMing. It's just amazing seeing them work together and team up. And what's great is that sorry, my brain just had like a full-on meltdown in the middle of reading anything. We're having a soup brain week this week, so it's just amazing seeing them work together. And what's great is just that much more. Yeah, no, that's man. I've always wanted to like give co-GMing another go, because like when it was a friend of mine that we were co-GMing, and honestly like our styles were wildly different and our like ideas were so much more rigid because we were both so new to it. Like our ideas were about how the game should go were so rigid, and honestly like it probably I'm not gonna lie, I was like what 20 or so, like I didn't I'm gonna say that maturity played a certain amount of like a certain non-zero role in that. So like I'm willing to give it another go now that my brain is fully developed. But yeah. All right, sorry, I'm trying to catch up with chat now. Let's see. I saw Newly Human. Hello. I don't know if I said hi to you, but hello, welcome. I've got a buddy who runs way too many games for his life to really accommodate, and I would absolutely do production at the table for him. That sounds hella fun. Honestly, suggest it. Like, ask, because like I don't know. I know not everybody would enjoy having that role at in at the game table. I would love doing that. That would be so much fun for me. Um, so like I'd say go for it. Go ask, cause yeah.
Yeah.
Mm,
I know,
I'm
like,
sorry.
sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. I was just gonna say I'm sorry if you can still hear her purring. She's very loud all the time.
No, it's all good.
It's
I've really, truly,
lovely.
actually just been enjoying the kitty belly rubs that have been going on over here.
Yeah, she likes belly time.
I've also, like, very seldom have I seen a cat that enjoys belly rubs that much. Oh.
Yeah. Sorry,
So-
now it's just cat time with Chris.
No,
Love
it's
it.
all good. I mean, there was one time that we were playing
Fair.
Conan Exiles on the channel, and my brother's cat came into my room, and I
the stream
literally
stopped.
like,
We stopped.
yeah,
We just
the stream fully stopped for like 15 minutes. It was just Suki time. Like,
yeah.
I
Yeah.
pointed my camera down at the floor. I went and got a couple of Suki's toys, and it was just full on Suki time. She actually kind of looks like your cat too. A little like the little black mask.
I think Cole says it here in chat. Do not apologize for baby purring. She's so good.
Usually she's good.
Fair enough. Hessen says, when I did my co-GMing, my partner and I would often roleplay NPCs while the other was the main GM to take some load off. That's cool, too. That's very interesting.
That's cool.
Yeah. It certainly takes the pressure off those of us who have a really hard time switching back and forth between NPC voices when the players inevitably decide it's very funny to make us talk to ourselves. So...
I was just gonna say, it's having a co-GM would be fucking just invaluable if the only thing that they did was to be NPCs in scenes where multiple NPCs were present, right? Or like if you're, for instance, like thinking about those combats, like those big like pinnacle combats in the game where like they've gathered a bunch of their NPC buddies with them to come fight with them. So there's like 4 NPCs, an ancient red dragon, an army of his minions, and also the layer actions, and then you have 4 like 12th level NPCs to run. Like having a GM who is just like, you run the dragon, you run the kobolds, I'll take care of the layer actions and the 4D like the 4D NPCs.
Genuinely, yes. That, yeah. And it really doesn't,
man.
like, it doesn't matter what system you're playing, like, running the enemies as well as the allied NPCs is a little much for my brain to handle.
Yeah. I've run. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like, if I were guesting, like, the secondary GM that was just playing NPCs, I would hand that GM so many ridiculous voices.
Oh,
If that's all I had to worry about,
That-
it was
yeah.
the NPCs.
That
Oh man, they
reminds
would be
me.
so mad at me.
That reminds me of your demon voice in our
I don't know what you're talking about. That never happened.
What are we talking about? No, that was incredible. I feel like you described it as
We are blessed.
I think you described it as like what you were going for as like Danny DeVito meets Gilbert Gottfried.
Yep, pretty much.
It was very
Oh
good.
my god.
I felt like, because I didn't want to go like super spooky with that game.
Yeah.
So I thought it was really funny to like set a creepy scene and then have that voice be the voice of the demon.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is like my favorite thing, is to have some just like horrible eldritch thing happen, and then like the monster winds up just being like kind of a nice guy, or like just kind of sounding wacky or something, or like the inverse, like the monster's trying to be very serious about this, but everything else about the world says absolutely not. Like our Gloomies game at Gen Con 2019, where there was like a werewolf or something trying to like do something horrible to the people in the town, and he got beat up by a group of 10-year-olds. Like
Yeah.
A group of 10-year-olds, amongst whom I think the most potent weapon was a cap gun.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And a kid with kind of a mean streak.
Hey, a kid with kind of a mean streak goes a long way.
Listen,
Yeah.
I've been a middle schooler. I've been around other middle schoolers as a middle schooler. Let me tell you, that does some damage.
I said some cutting things to Lily as the GM.
Yeah, that's very true. I remember that.
Also, that had to be so fun for everyone else at the table, witnessing me trying to be mean because I just can't do it. I just can't do it.
It was funny.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
Also, hi, famous fighter.
Yeah, welcome.
Hi, Danielle.
Oh, hi, Danielle. Danielle says Chris Kermit time.
I'll put Kermit's in the chat.
Oh, yes.
Very good.
Heston says you've been
Excellent.
Oh my god. That's incredible.
That's amazing.
Is there that seems like a story to moat.
Yeah, when I was streaming on my channel, I had a point redemption of Muppet mouth sounds where I would be off-brand Kermit the Frog.
Amazing.
Or specifically sing a song or part of a song. You're not allowed to lick that plate. Sing part of a song as Kermit.
That's so
That
cool.
was my 800 point redemption or whatever.
Nice.
I've got a 1K point redemption for make me stop the stream and write you a limerick.
Beautiful.
Good. Spigs, good to see you, man.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hey, Spigs.
Yeah. For anybody who got here after the start of the stream, theoretically, the topic of tonight's Ramblemancy, they're all the topics are always theoretical. They're always goals that we like look to. If we hit them, we hit them. If we don't, well. But tonight's is ways to enhance your TTRPGs. So kind of emphasizing like the trappings of TTRPGs, like music and costumes, props, that kind of stuff. So
And silly voices.
Yeah. Speaking of silly voices, though, like I feel like there's always I always have just like a couple that I lean on, and those are my ones that I use for particular archetypes of NPCs. Like for whatever reason, I always use my deep Russian accent voice to be like a very comedic character, like usually one who's very chaotic and causes no end of problems for the players. Not on purpose, just, you know, just because that's who they are as a person. But yeah, like I have my like my small repertoire of like the voices that I will always lean on for specific things. It's fun. I love doing it.
You know, there's definitely a few that I like to keep in reserve and pull out for very specific NPCs or kinds of NPCs. And then I know there's some that I will lean on every so often, and then a lot of times I'll just try and pick more, not even so much an accent, but kind of an affect for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite recent like character voice slash affect is like basically just be Kronk. Like if I am not given any direction as to what this NPC's personality is, I'm just going to assume that they are either Yzma or Kronk.
Good.
This pleases me greatly.
Well, like I'm running Descent into Avernus for my roommates. And I had a friend of mine who lives in town over, and she guested for an episode. And it was very funny because they were at the part of Descent into Avernus where they have to sneak into a dungeon run by a bunch of death cultists that's hidden, the entrance to which is hidden in this bathhouse. And there's these two just like massage therapists who are like, you know, basically who work there in the rooms. And so I decided that, you know, they wanted to like talk to this guy and like kind of distract him and the other person so that they could they could the rest of the party could try and sneak into the dungeon ahead of them. And it just wound up being this incredible comedy of, I was basically just like, yes, these two people who work here are Yzma and Kronk. And from that point on, that scene was so much fun to play out, because somebody like hauled Yzma outside trying to sell her baked goods, and she was trying to get back inside the whole time. And then there was just this tremendously amazing scene where somebody was trying to get Kronk to do anything, just like the Kronk NPC.
Yeah.
We got the other cat purring now.
Oh.
Yes.
I'm curious.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure someone has to have. But has anyone like statted out Cusco's poison as a D&D item?
Cusco's
Cusco's
poison,
the poison
meant
made specifically for Cusco.
I haven't, but now that you've mentioned it, I'm just gonna.
I feel like I want to throw that into a one-shot game just to make my players laugh.
I swear.
Because in one-shots, that's all I try to do.
I think it's a Constitution saving throw, and you're turned into a llama until affected by like a greater restoration or a heal spell or something like.
I swear that I have actually seen something like that. That somebody did something like that, and it was done in the kind of way where it very clearly what it's referencing, but it doesn't actually like make a mention of the thing. It will like hint at it at like the Emperor's New Groove and all that, but like.
That's beautiful.
I can't remember. If I did see this, it was a long time ago, but I swear I've seen something like that.
I really hope it exists.
I'm glad that it exists.
Isn't that just a?
I really want to
potion?
stat it out now. Like.
Yeah. No, it's. Oh, interesting. Yeah, this is a good. I actually did want to get to this. Spig said, "Did you guys bring up handouts?" Tolis came up with a few menus for taverns. I didn't know that. That's fucking dope. It's so cool to hand the players a menu when you have the usual we meet at a tavern scene. Oh shit. Everything I hear about Tolis just makes me want to play it more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Remember, I think Matt Colville, for that his first episode thing in the Running the Game series, I think like he has some resources for that, and I want to say that there is actually like he provides like a tavern menu with that, and that is very handy to have if you're trying to like improv the barkeep and be like, all right, well tonight's special is a potato soup, and now here I'm like trying to just make shit up, but like being able to just like hand players the menu.
See, I have a random generator that does that, but it would be really nice to have like an actual menu handout. But Lucas, don't tell Allison. Yeah, so Cole and I have a friend, Allison, who actually I think will be our next Ramblemancy guest.
Oh yes.
And Allison makes all kinds of Allison goes ham when it comes to like printing out handouts and props and stuff. Like, in fact, literally yesterday she was showing me all the stuff that she was preparing for her group that she's running for like an in-person game. It's like, me personally, I am amazed by it. But the thought of doing it myself, going to the lengths that she does, exhausts me. But so I am in awe of her at all times. But yeah. So yeah, handouts are cool. Freeman, do you remember when this was a thing I did in our home game, right? Where somebody received a letter and I actually
did a letter.
I handed you a letter.
And then I think then maybe there was a recording of someone reading the letter.
Not that time, but I did do that in Dungeons and Dorm Rooms.
That was that. Okay,
Yeah.
yes. But both were very, very cool. Mm-hmm. There was a letter that was handed out. Of course, just the usual note cards with the stats on weapons, magical weapons that you get. Yeah. But that's standard. But yeah, there was a few letters that were handed out for sure that we got to read at the table, which were really cool.
That's my favorite thing. My favorite thing to hand people is a letter from an NPC, because then I get to give it to them, and then it's the player's choice whether they choose to share it with anybody or not, and that's very fun for me, because when they don't choose to share it with everybody, and I know what information is in that letter, or like plot developments, it's great for me because I'm like, ooh, drama, good. And I didn't do this one.
Somewhere down the road, there will be drama.
Yeah. Although that said, it is also fun when everybody at the table knows that one of the players is withholding information in character. Like out of character they know, but in character they don't. That's also very fun.
I like both. They're both good.
Yeah. Let's see. I saw. Oh, Littlest Drummer says our DM gave our character gifts and then gave us as players physical gifts of what she gave our characters. That's awesome.
Oh,
That's rad
so
as
good.
hell.
That's so wholesome.
Yeah, I love that. Spig says Tolus came with a packet that has over 40 different things like menus, city maps, and even magic shop potions and scrolls list to hand out to players. As a GM, I love that. I love Montego games. I think they're great.
We do good stuff.
They do.
Absolutely.
Nico says,
it's
don't
not-
remind me of D&DR, Lucas. I just recently rewatched the Trouble dance rehearsal scene and I'm still not recovered. Listen.
Wow.
I don't think any of us
yeah.
have recovered from that.
That's true.
Check engine's still on, y'all.
Yeah.
Let's see.
No, the
Geek
thing I
Huts-
ran downstairs. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna. No, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
It's not like strictly speaking a prop, but one of the things for my new players that I got in terms of like handouts and stuff, because one of them is playing D&D for the first time and elected to play a druid, which means not only do they get to pick from the full breadth of their entire spell list every single day, they also have a gajillion wild shapes to choose from. And so I took the liberty of getting them like a little deck of cards that have all of the beasts
Oh, that's awesome.
that they can wild shape into.
Oh, cool.
So I separated out all of the stuff that they can wild shape into at this level, and then I handed it to them like, here, you can sort through and find what you like the most. And I think like it's a very kind of like basic prop or tool, I guess, but especially for somebody new, being able to just like take a few cards and set them out in front of you, very helpful, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I was also gonna say,
Oops.
so Geek Out says I used to make props all the time, like burnt parchment or puzzles, food, obsidian cult daggers, nice, dragonborn death mask, and of course sealed letters. That's very cool. Geek Out also said I miss playing in person, which is why I was sighing, because like,
yeah,
yep.
Fair.
that's a big one.
I have
You don't have to be scared when I talk.
I have this feeling though, like that whenever I go back to like running in-person games, it's gonna be like a weird like sensory overload for me. That like I've gotten so used to running them this way that I'm just gonna be like kind of overwhelmed when I go back.
Yeah.
But
As somebody who has run in-person D&D a few times now, just like for my roommates, yeah, a bit. And like I'm granted I'm an introvert, but also just like I got done running D&D and it was I had so much fun. It was a blast while I was there. But also like I finished doing it and everybody kind of like dispersed in the way that they did after D&D, and I came back upstairs to my room and I was just like I was like, whoa.
yeah, I will say probably one key difference though between our experiences is that one of us is an introvert and the other one is not.
Yeah, I'm kind of a big introvert.
I'm with John on that one.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, you're an introvert, John? Who would have known?
Who would have known? Some people are actually shocked when I tell them that I'm an introvert, especially like when they see me doing this, or like if they've known me like only as a teacher, or like they've only seen me like kind of public facing me, because I like, I can be, I think I'm a fairly like gregarious person, but then I'll be like, yeah, I need to go be a goblin for the rest of the day so that I can be a functional human tomorrow.
No,
like, what?
absolutely zero people are shocked when I say I'm an introvert. Zero.
Our resident cryptid.
The way I order pizza is by rehearsing what I'm going to say, and then what I end up saying is "I'm a pizza." Then I hang up awkwardly. Just never want to get pizza ever again. Like,
I pay like the extra $15 to just order on an app.
Yep.
that's
Like, don't have to make a phone call. I'm there.
oh, I didn't know
Funny
about
because like
that.
my
Okay.
job is like for the past 8 years has been like talk to people, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then I go home and I like eat tuna salad out of a bowl with the refrigerator door open and huddle on the floor, and then that's how I exist, and then I'm back to normal the next day. It's fine.
Chris,
Oh.
I need you to know how just fundamentally accurately you have described my experience being a substitute teacher as an introvert. Like, I go into this classroom full of children that I don't know, and I have to wrangle like 200 of these kids all day. And it is just like, and in some of the schools like that I was teaching in, the classrooms were like very tall and mostly like metal and concrete. So like it would be, the kids would get noisy and then it would echo. And so it would get to me so much. And I would come home, I would leave the school at the end of the day, when in last the building was kind of quiet. It was just like the low murmur of after school activities taking place in the distance. And I would go and get in my car and I would drive the 25 minutes home in complete silence. Like no radio, no nothing. Just drive home in complete silence, and then just like same vibe, like get a snack and then just like eat it while dissociating in front of the open fridge.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
If I were a substitute teacher dealing with large groups of children, second period, fetal position, under the desk. That's where I'd be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a whole different level too, because like kids don't just take social energy. Um, it's not only
Wow.
social energy that you expend. So,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
yeah.
It's a bunch. It's a bunch. Littlest Drummer also makes a good point, in that they are also an introvert, and so anytime we hang out, I hang out offline. There's just swaths of time where one, like I will be playing Dread and they will be playing Animal Crossing, and we're both happy to be there, but there's no talking.
Sometimes that's the best.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
Just like you can hang out with someone for 10 hours and then part ways and like not speak a word for the majority of that and just be like, good hanging out.
Same
good to
time
see you.
tomorrow. Great.
This was legitimately nice. Thank you. Thank you for coexisting in this general space with me, not being too close and not talking to me. I really appreciate it.
I honestly really like co-working in that way, like just having somebody else, like because when I'm not doing this, I do like freelancing for tabletop games and comics, and so if I'm not writing, I'm working on editing other people's stuff, and that's not something that I can have a lot else going on. It's not like I converse while I'm working on words that people have written and I have to kind of like be crunching those, but it's nice to have somebody else feel like somebody else is kind of in the room.
Yep.
Once every 10 minutes I can go like, Oxford comma, you asshole, like, and have somebody else chuckle at it, like.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. That kind of thing is so much harder for me to do remotely.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I also enjoy, even as an extrovert, I enjoy that when it's like comfortable silence, obviously, because if it's uncomfortable silence, I'm one of those people who feels the need to fill the silence, and whatever comes out of my mouth is what's coming out of my mouth. There's like nothing happening between here and here in those moments of uncomfortable silence. There's nothing going on between there. It's just other than just transmission. Like there's no filtering happening, so it's not great. But like on like remotely, I've noticed that like it's much harder for me to just be with somebody unless we are both like working on separate things that are very like require our focus, because otherwise I just like I feel even with people that I like in in person I would feel very comfortable being with them just silently. I still feel like I need to say something. There's still a little bit that pressure for me of like, but yeah, no, I feel what y'all are talking about with the whole just comfortable in-person silence coexisting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll say that online it does work better for me. Like if I'm doing like kind of just a hangout online, I do feel more of a pressure to like kind of fill the space. But if it's like working,
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of times I meet once a week with like Bree to work on her comic with her, and a lot of times after we finish doing stuff for the comic, we'll like she'll go to drawing, and then I'll switch to doing other stuff, and it's just nice to have like that hour where we're both kind of still just sitting on call, like, and I can just hear the sounds occasionally of like her mic picking up the tapping on the Cintiq screen, and I'm just over here like keyboard ASMR. It's very like just quiet co-working is so nice.
Well, like a thing that I've noticed, a little bit of rule of lore behind the scenes. I've noticed that when we're writing our like recaps for the episodes, like we tend to get like out through a lot more and get something much more like I don't know, much more accurate and kind of like a good summary of the episode when I just shut the hell up and leave you alone. And like while you're working on like the writing, I'm working on some other like rule of lore behind the scenes business stuff. And then I'll like a few minutes go by, I come back and like, all right, let me make some changes here. And like that goes like the last several of them I've made that change to start doing it that way instead of just sort of like go like because in my mind, collaborative working means you're both like plugged in and working. And as it turns out, in our case, that's not true.
Yeah, no, it's worked very well for us. Like you're working, you've got like correspondence or copywriting or something to be
Yeah.
doing, or like scheduling tweets, and I'll be just like sitting there zoning out for a minute thinking about what happened in the episode, and then I'll tip tap away and be like, hey, how do you spell this person's name?
Right.
Honestly, this is what you're describing basically is like a very common effective ADHD strategy called body doubling, where you're just like you're like doing exactly what you would have been doing if you were by yourself, but having the other person there kind of makes you like more
Yeah,
For sure.
so
yeah.
Absolutely.
yeah. This is
I should get tested maybe.
Me too. Me too. For many things.
yeah. That's what that is. Yeah, it is, Cole. That is what that is. Yeah, Nico says I look forward to the day where I get to hang out with all of you. I know we were like worst thing, one of the worst things was that like we had plans for like not 2020 Gen Con, but for the one that came after that, where we were gonna hopefully get Nico to come hang out with us at Gen Con. And then, well, we all know what happened.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
We were all gonna finally be maybe in the same place, and then, yep. So, I feel like that's just kind of like the story of many people's lives over the last couple of years. I was gonna do this, but then this happened. Then COVID happened.
Still just so disappointed by the 2020 experience, where like we were so on top of it, like January like 15th or something 2020, we had like a house that was like 5-minute walk from the convention center booked out and like ready to go, and we're like in the like getting our travel arrangements hammered out, and then March happened and we're like, oh,
Guess we better cancel this.
yes, we better.
The
I
one
remember.
it's I guess this is just like punishment for us ever being prepared ahead of time. Like trying to act out of character. Like
we were
like it's not going to be a mad scramble this time at the end.
Well, we were right about that. We were right about that part about at least. terrible.
Mhm.
This is still about TTRPGs, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. We were just talking about Gen Con.
Exactly.
So-
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still related. Those of you
There
those people who definitely exist who are going to come at us for not sticking to the topic on a show called Ramblemancy.
Mhm. Yeah. I don't think that, I'm so glad that nobody has ever come onto this show. I don't think we've ever had a single person in chat come in here and be like, hey, I thought you were going to be talking about this. And like,
That's because nobody pays attention to us long enough to know what we're talking about ever, and nobody remembers what we said we were going to. Nobody remembers what we were going to say.
On today's episode, we're going to talk about enhancing your TTRPGs, but then it's going to turn into the plot of Primer in conversation form, which is a great approach for conversation, in my opinion. But
Yeah, absolutely. We.
Yeah.
Oh God.
I was gonna say, like, kind of loosely circling in the direction of the topic again, just as vultures around a carcass, I guess.
That's also a very fun way to refer to conversations.
what an analogy.
First
This
thing that came to
conversation
mind.
is a rotting corpse on the desert floor. However, there are signs of life in the carrion eaters that circle it.
Hey, it's the circle of life.
Yeah, exactly. This is Animal Planet, sponsored by or brought to you by Rule of Lore.
Here we see the conversation in its natural habitat. Dead.
Here, the deserts are dry due to lack of rain, but as you can see, the carriers are coming to get the meat. From a thing that had nothing of substance to begin with. And as you can see, life goes on.
Oh my God!
Planet Earth title card.
I can't believe we finally got we finally got David Attenborough as played by Freeman on this channel.
Can't either.
Oh,
I don't know where that came from.
oh.
Well,
It was incredible wherever it did come from.
There was one time back when Ramblemancy was in person where we'd set up. Back then we would set up and then we would just kind of like hang out outside and just sort of chill out until it was time to stream. And there was a period of time, there was one day where for like the entire space of time in between finishing setting up and sitting down to go live, Freeman had an entire conversation, like the whole time was talking in the David Attenborough voice. And Henry was, I think he was talking in like the Obi-Wan Kenobi voice.
mm-hmm.
The whole
Good.
time, and I'm just sitting there for a while. I was just kind of quietly dissociating, and then all of a sudden it hit me, and I was just like, "What is happening right now?"
There was the night that there was the David Attenborough voice, but we were doing Lord of the Rings quotes.
That's right. Yeah.
And that was part of that as well, which was just absolutely
So one of my favorite things to do is quote from like Lord of the Rings or from Star Wars using characters of the other one.
That's right.
That's one of my favorite things to do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I think it's very funny that we got started on this based on John trying to bring it back to the topic.
And that's Ramblemancy.
Ramblemancy. It's really just 3 bits standing on each other's shoulders in a trench coat.
There's not even a trench coat. There's no pretense. There's like no pretense at all.
No, I guess the like stretch that I was gonna try and bring us around back to on is like is
it
just
more
the
or less of a
atmosphere.
stretch this time? Now that we're
I
here.
think, I'm not sure.
Okay, cool.
Actually,
Let's find out.
I think it's more of a stretch now that we've departed even further.
Mhm.
But I was gonna say, well, actually, no, I can bring it back. I can do anything. I'm an English major. I had to bullshit enough papers. It's because there's that fever dream kind of feel that comes with conventions that I think we're a little bit experiencing as it gets later and later for everybody in the call. But I like there's a certain like different vibe that convention games have. And the reality is that we're all sitting around a table in a corner of a big room playing Dungeons and Dragons together. And functionally, what's happening is not any different here. But the trappings of everything else and what's going on make those games just so wild. Like, and I don't know what it is, because most often we don't have a lot of the things that we have at the table. We don't often have like all of the music that we want at our command, or like a bunch of props, or those kind of things, because like in some cases you've literally picked a quiet hallway, and you and your friends are sitting on the floor with some dice and notebooks. So I wonder what it is about con games that feels so impactful as compared to, or like what enhances that experience in that way as compared to, like, very kind of cultivated setting at home.
Well, I kind of like I want to make sure before we like get into the to draw sort of like a distinction here, because I suspect that what you're talking about isn't like con games, but
Mm-hmm.
games that happen at the con. Because there's like
Yeah,
con games, the ones that you sign up for, you go to, and like a GM is running that um,
those are very
for a
curated
bunch of
from what I've.
people. Yeah, for running those for a bunch of people, probably like their sixth or so one that day or something.
Mm-hmm.
And but I think what you're talking about is just games that happen at the con. Like you get a group of people together and you just play a game. Am I right about that?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
that's more what I'm referring to.
Okay,
You
I just
know,
wanted to make sure that to clarify, because yeah, because I think those are two very different experiences. But yeah, I don't know. Like, so what you're asking is like wondering like what makes those kind of games where you're just sort of with people that you know or met at the con and just sort of like putting together a game, what makes them
hmm
sort of more impactful. Okay. Hmm.
or perhaps uniquely impactful. I think, I wonder, is almost my question. I think some of it has to do with the just fever dream atmosphere of conventions. Like where everybody is
Mhm.
short on sleep, running on their fourth cup of coffee today, and like you've done a million things, and it's 11 p.m. in the convention center, and everyone's like, hey, so I got this game today, and everyone's like, let's play it right now.
So I've never actually been to a con
Mm-hmm.
ever.
Mhm.
Um because I was reclusive before we had a global pandemic.
Yeah.
Um so like the fever dream atmosphere you're describing would be like escalated to like full fear and loathing in Las Vegas for me. If I were in a con. I feel like that's how that would go, and I don't think it would go well.
They do
You'd just
actually.
see like this shadow gremlin like running into a hallway, into a staircase, and hiding under the steps. Like, don't come over here.
You can see like the reflections of the backs of your eyes in the dark.
Yeah,
Like, they do actually a lot of times, often at big cons like that. I know in Gen Con they have one or two of these, but they have like quiet rooms, that are like set
I'd be
aside
in
a
there
little
all
bit,
day.
and you're not allowed to have your you're not allowed to have like your phone ringer on. Everybody has to talk like pretty
Like
quiet if you're
if
going
you
to talk at
sleep
all.
in there, you are not. If you snore, you're out. Like there's a whole thing. If you fall asleep in there,
Yeah,
like
I
literally they
remember
have
that.
rules about this. It's yeah, it's wild.
Mm-hmm.
I
I should have
want
made use of
quiet
those.
rooms just everywhere that there's a public space. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Sorry, cats, man.
Oh,
I love them
Cole.
dearly.
Yeah,
They
Cole
have
says
opinions.
solidarity, Chris. I broke down crying after DMing my third day of jamming.
You made it 3 days. I am proud of you.
Oof.
Yeah,
I don't
I'm
know you, but I
impressed.
am so proud of you.
Like even me as an extrovert, I have never signed up to GM a con game because I know that would wipe me out.
Yeah.
Like well before I was done. Like that I would be wiped. I get even with like games that I run on purpose. Like even with those games, like I there I will still have some days where like I just get overstimulated. I just get overstimulated. It's not the game, it's just whatever. It's just how my brain is that day, and it feels like my entire brain is just like covered in TV static, just like covered in like bubble wrap or something. And it is impossible for me to focus, and everything that I do in a game just feels like a struggle. And so like I know that a con game would do that for me right out the gate. So it's even more impressive to me whenever anybody tells me that they run con games, because I know I'd make it through one maybe and then I would be done. I would be
Mhm.
out. Yeah.
I can barely I can I am like just fully dissociative after running Dungeons and Dragons or a TTRPG game for people that I know for a few hours. Like I can't imagine for like, you know, 8, 9, 10 hours running games over and over and over on like a 2 hour banging out schedule, like 5 games a day or some shit, like at conventions for a bunch of people that was just like a rotating cast of folks I had no idea who they were.
Yeah. You'd almost need like a little bit more of a script, I think, at that point.
Yeah.
Just a little one, probably.
Which, like, I guess is fair if you're like running a con game. You've got, in theory, you're either running a module like an adventure, or you're like you have your own like prep that you've done, depending on whatever, and you
Part
just
of me
like
would
run down the bullet
Yeah.
points every time. So I guess there is that, but
part of me would probably
Still.
just like check out a little bit. The part of me that would want to dissociate would just be like, I wonder how they'll do it differently this time.
Mhm.
Like
yeah.
you just get loopier and loopier, John, the later in the day you got me. Like
Well, that.
My
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
sorry, I was just gonna say like my GM style is way too improv based too for me to run a set module consistently.
Mm-hmm.
And I know like in those settings, consistency is what they want out of the game master for at least for like the what do they call it, the Dungeon League games or
Oh,
whatever.
yeah, the Adventurers League. Yeah.
Adventurers League. Like you have to run it by the book, and I've never run anything by the book in my entire life. So
No, genuinely, I don't. That Adventures League is something that like fascinates me, but that I want absolutely no part of. Like, like it's because I like it fascinates me because that's just the way my brain works. Like I want to understand how things function, but like I don't want to participate in it because it just sounds horrifying to me. Just with the way that I run games and the things that I like out of games, like it sounds horrifying.
Yeah.
But like I'm fascinated by it because I don't know how it works. But
yeah, I'm in the same boat there.
yeah,
I've never run like a written module.
neither
My
have I.
my planning is often like I used to plan a little bit more when I was like first starting, and then I was like, all right, I got 2 sentences written down, and the words yellow horse. Let's go. Like that's where I like to start my games from.
Yeah,
So.
I like to tell this story often, but when we were streaming our D&D game here, Dungeons and Dorm Rooms, there was one session that I came in with no plans. I had 2 words written on a note card, and it was Chad Dragonborn. That was it. That was the whole thing. So
Ideal, really.
yeah, it was a great
may
session
not like
if I
it,
remember
folks.
correctly, but
it was amazing. It got us one of the best NPCs out of that game.
It sounds
You
like
may not
it.
like it, folks, but this is what peak performance looks like.
no, truly though, like I remember Freeman and I went to Gen Con together the very first time we went, and like there is that experience, but we didn't know it right away. That experience where, so we had just come in on like a red eye. We got in at like 5 a.m. There's a whole mishap with our like hotel in that I forgot that hotels like check-in times are often at like 3 p.m. And so we got in at 5 a.m. and had nowhere to go but the convention center with all of our stuff, and we were exhausted because like sleeping on planes is just not like a thing that I can do, and um, we had a whole like almost 36 hours of travel just all together because it takes us 3 million years to get to Seattle from where we live.
True.
So like it's a whole thing. So we get to the convention center, we're walking around and we're like exhausted, and we are thinking that like we're exhausted, and then we like sit down for a while, sort of like space out, talk to no one, not even each other, just sort of like looking at our phones or whatever, then sort of get excited about something, bounce back and be like, oh, let's go see this, and then go over there, and then do that for a while, and then get exhausted, go back, wash, rinse, repeat, and we're like, oh god, okay, well, we're gonna get a good night's sleep, and then tomorrow will be different. It turns out that's just the con experience. That just is what it is, what it's like. You just go through. I had my second wind, my third. I had so many wins that I didn't even know that it was possible for a human to have.
So many.
Uh, Gen Con
also-
taught me that.
Yeah,
also, our
same.
specific place that we were staying at too.
That's true.
Didn't
We
give
also
us an
did.
opportunity to rest well, but
Yeah, we didn't. We that first year we were in a really really janky hotel, and like a place where every time like our like Uber driver would take us there, each Uber driver had an increasingly concerning thing to say about like the area of the city that it was in.
wait, you're in this area, man.
Like, oh, okay, and like,
Oh no.
I was like,
Did
oh,
you
you
hear
guys
about
are out
this?
here, or like, wow, you guys are way out here. Oh,
Oh.
this place. It's like, you can't just stop there. You can't just like
Tell us.
say nothing or tell us everything. You can't just. So needless to say, we spent most of our time that trip at the convention center. So we didn't have
The
a whole lot of resting.
36 hours of travel itself would do me in.
Yeah, it's not great.
Like, I would be like, okay, I've traveled for this amount of time. I need 3 days to recover. And then we can do the trip back, and I'll
Yeah.
leave another 3 days.
Honestly, I think the only thing that carried me through after that was the fact that I was running on hype and adrenaline exclusively. And that was, yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the only thing that was carrying me through all of that.
The glue that holds you together.
So much
That's all you need
adrenaline.
sometimes. Yeah.
Duct tape and hype. That's all you. That's like.
All right.
Duct tape
I think
and hype.
Nico has a question here, and I think we will end with that because we are kind of at the end of our time here. But Nico says, I have a question for the panel that has absolutely nothing to do with what we're talking about right now. On brand. Very good. None of the rest of what we've been talking about has anything to do with what we were talking about. So imagine you had a studio space for TTRPGs. Table, cameras, all the essentials are there. Each of you gets to add 3 things to the studio. Budget is not a problem. What are they? So to clarify, we have all of the like essentials for TTRPGs. What additional stuff would we do? Cost is no object.
No object, huh?
Rocket boards, the little like I think it's what they're called, like the little like things that you can take notes on and then very easily just kind of like get rid of that, or whatever those things are called. Like I think those would be really handy. Laser pointers so that people can point like at the map and stuff really easily, and then a tiny plushie of Totoro to hide somewhere different every single stream.
Good. Excellent.
Those are
Rocket
my
books.
3 things.
Rocket books is what, yeah.
Rocket books. Thank you. Thank you, Cole. Love you too.
I would put the set on wheels so it can be a revolving set that moves on wheels, that you can move the set around and change the set out easily with a nice little flow. Like it's like wheels, but it's on like it's not wheels on the floor. It's what is it?
Like no, not casters, or like
kind of like casters. So it's like attached to the floor and it's running on a
Oh, I understand what you mean. So like on
Yeah.
runners, like on a rail system or something like that.
yeah, like a rail
Yeah, yeah.
system of some kind, or maybe there's something more sophisticated than that. But anyway, like a set that changes, or a table that you press a button and it rotates.
Spoken
into
like
a
a theater
different-
tech. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
There used to be a concert venue near where I grew up that was like fully circular, and the stage rotated slowly the whole time.
Ooh.
Hell yeah.
That's very cool.
Smoke machine.
Smoke
I don't know.
machine. Excellent
But
choice.
Something
Excellent
has
choice.
to be in there somewhere.
That's tough. Every time I think of stuff, this is what happens when you
so
spend too much
much.
time in producer brain. The only thing you can think of are the like essential.
Right.
I know.
yeah.
I'm glad I read that question and had been thinking about it for like 3 or 4 minutes, so that when I could just rattle off a list of two or three things, because I was running into the same issue where like producer brain was just like, well, I'd want that. Oh wait, no, that's lights. That's just an essential.
Yeah.
And like lots of gaffs tape, like gaffer tape, so you can like make sure that all the fucking cords that you like fucking plug in, like for the mic and all the sound and lights, everything is like taped down where it needs to be. No one's tripping over anything. And
Chris, do you have anything?
All right, so
Okay, here we go.
it said that cost is no object
true.
at all. So,
Hit
first thing, whole room, like LED, like holodeck virtual, like adaptive environment display, like around the whole thing. So you get you can program whatever backgrounds, changing scenes that you want. I'm also going to say fog machine is my middle thing because it's just fun.
So perfect.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then 3, we were talking about adaptable music. Improv pit band. Little string ensemble that can just pick up on the vibe and go with it.
That's a good
If we're
one.
spending as much money as we want. I want my own little personal improv like string orchestra.
Oh shit.
That sounds
Yeah.
great to me.
That's that's a good one. Damn. Yeah.
And if I could add 4, I would also do the little mini Totoro that we could hide.
Yeah, I'll get the little one, you get the big one, and they're in different places every
Oh.
single time.
God, that would be so sick. That would be so sick. And if like you were streaming it, you could have like a separate camera that was like the pit orchestra, like the you know, and you can just sort of like cut to that periodically, you know, and like have it sort of like on its own little. I'm going to assume that a full production crew is counted under essentials, because it would be nice to not have to do all those jobs by myself, for once.
Yes.
Let's see. Oh my gosh. Now I'm distracted by that like the improv or like band like that.
That is pretty great.
That's
like,
honestly incredible.
Like
Incredible
a
pick.
little sound painting ensemble.
Oh gosh. I don't even know. Like I think I would like to have like I agree with what you said, like the like adaptive sort of like environmental kind of thing. That's very cool, especially if it could also like be adapted to sort of like project like basically what you would do in handouts like NPCs or like even like a brief like battle map layout, whatever, that could also be like in the table, right? So like you're projecting it big behind you, but it's also like in the table directly in front of. That would be great. I don't know that I have too much like original stuff to add to this, but because I am who I am, even though as a GM, I tend not to eat when I am GMing, except in breaks, because I have to be talking most of the time as the GM more than anybody else at the table. I think I would still like some sort of like I feel like normally if I was hungry right now, I would be able to tell you exactly what kind of snack dispenser I would want in there, but I'm just going to say snack of choice dispenser for right now, like some kind of like snack bar or something like that. Like then the thing that made me think of that was that in college I had a friend who like I went to his house once for Thanksgiving, and in their basement they had like a home theater set up that like literally looked like a theater. Like they had the tiered seats, and instead of like theater seats, they had like really comfortable couches, obviously, but they also had like a vintage popcorn maker in there, and so that's what made me think of that. I was like, okay, that, but like TTR. You know what? Fuck it, popcorn maker. There's a popcorn maker in there because I love popcorn.
I'm down.
And just
something
in studio
that dispenses
catering,
beer,
you know?
like a little beer keg that
There
just
you
like
go.
pops up.
Have like
from,
a tab or a tap or
Yeah.
something, you know, like. Yeah, absolutely.
There it is.
I'm down.
Yeah. You know what? Final answer, popcorn maker.
Popcorn maker.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All right. Well, that is
Now I want popcorn.
It's true.
Top-down projector for the table, heated floor, cup hold. Ooh, heated floor. That's nice. I
Heated
do
floor,
like
huh?
that.
That's a good
That's a
one.
very good one, Nico.
Never been in a house with heated floors before, but that sounds like it would be absolutely divine in the winter.
100%. All right. If you all have your answers to Nico's question, we do have a great place that you can put it. Even though the stream is ending, you can go into the Discord. There is a Ramblemancy channel there, and you can put your picks in there. That the Discord has been linked in the chat. I don't know why I don't say this more often. For those of you watching on YouTube, it's in the description. I think you probably figured that out by now, but just in case you haven't, I am explaining it to you that you can get to our Discord from the description. I want to say, Chris, thank you so much for joining us, for coming and chatting with us. I know it's late for you.
No, thank you for having me. And it's not actually that late in terms of time. I am just a sleepy boy all the time.
I understand. Yeah, that's completely understandable. But yeah, no, it's been awesome to have you on and chat with us. Yeah. Actually, before we get into our end of stream stuff, Chris, why don't you tell people where they might find you and your various projects?
Sure. I am not working on too much at the moment. My primary thing that I do is my podcast Clearfield, which is an interactive mystery and horror show. So it's kind of like a choose your own adventure. The audience gets to vote on where the story goes. And the next episode for that will be out on Monday. But yeah, it's twitter.com/clearfieldpod. And my own personal Twitter is just @SirGC. And I occasionally say things there. But yeah, I'm not streaming, and I'm not taking music commissions at the moment. So that's about all I've got going on.
Cool. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we have a Rule of Lore regular who is in some way involved with Clearfield. One Live in a Day.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah.
They are a recurring character that shows up at the end of every case arc. So.
Yeah. So there's some connectivity here. So.
Woo.
Yeah.
Oh, jinx! We jinxed on the woo.
Good old Woo Jinx.
Woo jinx.
That old chestnut.
No, it just has to be an woo jinx, and then things explode.
No,
it's time to go.
If there's ever an
See you, everybody.
Yeah, but so everyone, once again, just some quick reminders about everything next week. This is actually our last stream before December. Again, the build-up sounds so much more dramatic than it actually is. This is our last stream before we take a break for Thanksgiving. We will be back in December. I believe we will be coming back with Infinite Horizon on Wednesday. No, not Infinite Horizon. What am I talking about?
Thunder and Blood, our Cyberpunk Red 3-shot actual play, coming to you right after Thanksgiving break on Wednesday, December 1st.
I know what's happening on this channel. I know what's going on.
Thunder and Blood.
Yeah, so that's
Thunder and Blood.
Yes. There will be thunder.
Punks.
And I'm not going to say the rest of that because that's a totally different thing that's not related. Yeah, so we'll be doing that. We'll be coming back December 1st, Wednesday, December 1st at 6 p.m. Pacific time with the first episode of Thunder and Blood. And of course, we will be back that Friday, December 3rd with Ramblemancy, where I believe our guest will be one Allison, a good friend of mine. We'll be talking about TTRPG stuff probably because what can I say? We've got a brand. So yeah, if you would like to know more about what we're doing and stay apprised of everything that's going on here, as I mentioned before, you can join the Discord. The links are in chat or in the description if you are on YouTube. If you're listening on podcast, I don't know how you're doing that because we don't release this on podcast. So I'm
More
very
power to
impressed
you.
with you.
Magic.
You have willed Ramblemancy to be a podcast such that it became one, and
Yeah.
I commend you.
I'm very proud of you.
Mystical RSS feed.
Yes. You can keep the conversations of Ramblemancy going in the Discord, or you can chat about any of our other stuff. Chat about your favorite media obsessions, things like that are going on in there. That will be happening. If you would like to support us, there are numerous ways that you can do that. First of all, you can subscribe to us here on Twitch. However, there are ways that you can subscribe to us that are sort of overall better for us in the long run, and honestly, better for you. More streamer support for your money. Where you can support us on Patreon, where you get all kinds of fun goodies and stuff like that. Extra content to go along with this stuff, as well as tools for your own tabletop games, and even the possibility of joining us in monthly writers' room sessions to write for some of our content that we stream here on this channel. That your very own brain children could become part of Rule of Lore streamed content. It's happened before. um,
Mr. the Inevitable.
Mr. the Inevitable. We also have a coffee, which will it's periodically updated with our short-term goals and things like that. Ways that you can support us without any sort of monthly or long-term commitment, and that's also a great way to go. Of course, as you've noticed, the bar at the bottom of the screen. Another way to support us and what we do here is by contributing to our monthly community goals. By which currently we have an Among Us game on the table that will be hosted in our Discord that anyone in the Discord will be able to participate in. It will be chaotic. I can guarantee you that. Basically, I can guarantee you nothing else other than that. So yeah, it'll be lots of fun. And I think that's all of the ways.
It is, I think, all of the ways. We have run through them all.
All right, great.
It's the end of the show.
It's the end of the show. Well, we will see you next time. For the next time we see you will be for Thunder and Blood, December 1st. So we'll hopefully see you for that. But if not, we will see you the next time you decide to come roll with us. Good night and good zone, everyone, and happy Thanksgiving to all of those who celebrate.